Harry's a changed man. I've millions of comments. What happened to Harry? This poor man. Now people don't even feel sorry for Harry because he continues to do it over and over again. And how bad does it have to be? What is going on? What dirt does she have on you? Is she blackmailing you? What is going on?
Breaking right now, Thomas Markle Junior, the sister of Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has lashed out at his sister and her husband, Prince Harry, in the most brutal interview he has ever given. Of course, he has decided to speak out after a string of controversies for Prince Harry, notably that despicable BBC interview where he revealed information about the late King's health and decided to weaponize his two children against the royal family. And then the doorbell picture, which went all around the world. Harry looking wide-eyed and wired, marching down a London street without any security. So what on earth is going on? And has Meghan Markle potentially got something over Harry, which is why he has decided to stay with her despite the huge cost to his own life? We'll get analysis from Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network, in just one moment. But first, here is the shocking claim and questions being asked by Thomas Markle Jr.
If Harry was with you now, or what would you say to him? What message would you deliver to Harry now?
Grow a pair.
Yeah. And do you think...
Wake up, Harry.
Yeah.
Wake up. You're in a spiral downward. You're going to crash and burn. You are crashing and burning right now. And believe me, honestly, this is the way it looks to everybody in the world too. Harry's a changed man. I've millions of comments. What happened to Harry? This poor man. Now people don't even feel sorry for Harry because he continues to do it over and over again. And how bad does it have to be? What is going on? What dirt does she have on you? Is she blackmailing you? What is going on? Does she keep your nuts in a jar in her purse? I don't know. It's just...
So, Brittany, Thomas Markle Jr. there raising the possibility that Meghan Markle is blackmailing Prince Harry. What do you make of it?
I don't know for sure, but what we can say that we've seen and we know is that Harry is separated from his whole family and they have cut off communication too. He's sort of now trying to limp back, but they were like, you're the toxic one. You're the one that we have to cut off for our own sanity. He's lost many of his English friends. He's lost his country. He's lost his job. He's lost his purpose in life. And we see this floundering right here. And it's not as much, you could say, blackmail, because I don't really know what's going on behind the scenes with them. But what we can say is that she stuck him in another country. He no longer has a job. He doesn't speak to his family, and he has minor children in the United States. So she's effectively trapped him. He's stuck. Whether or not they stay together or divorce, he's now stuck in the United States for at least the next 18 or so years. And I think that's sort of tragic and terrible in some ways. And it's something where his whole family, all his friends, no one liked her. And they all told him this. And he still continued anyways. He took good advice from people who loved and cared for him and instead just went along with whatever Meghan wanted. And yes, maybe he got the mother figure out of her he always wanted. But now I think he went from, he was thinking the royal family is a cage. Now I think he's more trapped than ever before.
Yeah, I think that's really good analysis, actually, Brittany. Remember last week, Megyn Kelly told me that she believes there is coercive control going on in the relationship. And if Harry were a woman, there would be a very different take from the public. But I think that's difficult because Harry isn't a woman and Harry was warned and he should grow some balls, Brittany, and he shouldn't be so weak and he shouldn't treat his father like that. He shouldn't treat his brother like that. So maybe it is different because he's a man in a way.
I totally agree. I've mentioned the same thing before too. If the sexes were reversed, I think it would be a more serious conversation between people. But because Harry is the guy and he's tried to portray himself as the leader of his family. But I mean, even a friendly publication like People Magazine said that Meghan rules that house. We all know he's ruled by her. She makes all the decisions in their life. She's the one who moves and guides pretty much everything. And at this point, because of sort of the meltdown that Harry is having publicly, a bit with his security and everything. I mean, she might be there sitting with a bit of glee because it means even more control for her, or it might give her an avenue or a good shot at getting more out of a future divorce, possibly. So that's just, again, speculation. But I don't think Harry is doing well. The things Harry is doing, like if we saw this with a family member friend, we'd all be very concerned. And I think the public is naturally reacting and seeing a guy who's sort of falling apart and his wife who's just smiling with glee because, oh, she finally has more money to spend on Cartier jewelry.
Totally. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And the thing is, Brittany, we actually saw it in his BBC interview, didn't we? We saw a man falling apart in so many ways. And what's interesting is that in this Thomas Markle Jr. interview with Kevin O'Sullivan on Talk TV, he blames that entirely on Meghan Markle, his sister, who he says has ruined Prince Harry. Watch.
You, Tom, is do you think your sister, Meghan Markle, has ruined Prince Harry?
Well, let me answer that real quick for you. The answer is yes. And I could not agree with you more on everything you just said. I was watching this interview just thinking to myself, this poor man. And it just continues and continues and continues. And he's going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I do believe, you know, Meghan is driving this whole caravan for him. He is so stressed out. You can see it in his face. Despair. He's confused. He doesn't know what to say. He thinks he's going to get in trouble if he doesn't say exactly what Meghan says.
Interesting, Brittany, isn't it, that Meghan's family actually do have sympathy for Harry?
His pointing out of how confused Harry looked, I think, is so good because Harry does look confused. He does act confused a lot of times because I think he still is sort of doesn't quite understand how everything fell apart with Mexit. And he's constantly, I think, focused on that time period, trying desperately to figure out what went wrong. Whereas Meghan sort of always knew the entire situation. She was like, she wanted Harry to leave because she wanted her Hollywood dream. And while Suits was good, it wasn't as good as the cesspool that is Hollywood. And Harry is just there sort of floundering. And he, I think, had this vision with her. I think she spun him a huge, tall tale about how successful they would be, how amazing he is, and how they would go to Hollywood and they would conquer, and he'd be this big producer and he'd be the next Spielberg or something like that. And he gets there and nothing is what it seems. All the relationships are incredibly shallow. They live in this giant house that they could probably was at the top of their budget. Meghan Markle admitted that. And I'm sure there's constant pressure on him. Harry, we need to make money, money, money. The stresses, I'm sure, of finances, of paying for their ridiculous security apparatus and everything that they have. He must live just under an enormous amount of stress, and you see it on his face. And then you combine that with just the confusion of how he got there. I think he's just always constantly spinning, whereas Meghan is just, again, kind of sitting to the side, watching him kind of fall apart and being okay with it as long as the money keeps coming in.
Yeah, totally. Now, Brittany, of course, one of the things that I guess has really infuriated monarchists, royalists, like us over the past 2 weeks is the contravention of the Sandringham Summit, the fact that Meghan genuinely believes she has a right to use the HRH title, even though she agreed not to. It didn't matter if it was for commercial reasons, didn't matter if it was in public or private, so she's twisted that agreement. And what I find very interesting here is Thomas Markle Jr. has some very strong words that he has been told the late Queen Elizabeth II said in regards to Meghan, and vice versa. Watch.
Has resumed calling herself HRH.
Called vanity. You know, she disrespected Queen Elizabeth from the get-go. She mocked the Queen. She wouldn't listen to the Queen. She came into the royal family and thought she owned the place. I mean, look at the NDAs that are expired from the staff and all the staff that would not work for Meghan, all the bullying, all the accusations, all this stuff. It's just, I think what happened, and quote me on this, because I think the Queen did say she knew she would know evil when she met it, and she met evil when she met Meghan Markle.
Wow.
And there are quotes out there floating around the internet that Meghan even told the Queen to drop dead on her way out. And I do believe the Queen, in my opinion, told Meghan, get out of my house. I think that's why they left.
If not, why not? Is your sister a bully?
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, Brittany, there is something quite hilarious, isn't it? About usually the brother is the one standing up for the sister, and in this case, it's the brother saying, "Oh no, of course she's a bully." But look, there was very credible reporting, Brittany, from The Spectator that the late Queen Elizabeth II had referred to Meghan as evil. So none of this is particularly far-fetched. And Meghan's behavior, whether she actually said the words drop dead, her behavior towards the late Queen certainly appeared that she didn't give a damn about her health.
Yeah, I think Meghan was very particular in how she dealt with Queen Elizabeth, because knowing how respected she is, that Meghan, I think, did want to sort of somewhat be cautious in how, like, direct dealings. I'm not sure if I've always believed the idea that the Queen referred to Meghan as evil, but I think the Queen saw what we all see, which is a woman who came into the royal family, did not respect a single bit of their traditions, did not respect any one of them, that she saw it as a means to an end, and she was perfectly willing to stomp on other people in order to, this is Meghan, stomp on other people in order to get herself ahead, was willing to abuse staff. And I mean, this was all in even the lead up to their wedding. And I think everybody in the royal family wanted to their benefit, to give Meghan the benefit of the doubt, hoping maybe this would blow over by the wedding and she was just having a bit of a bride moment. Whereas I think even Meghan became worse after she got that title. And I think in some ways while I totally understand why the monarchy allowed the marriage to go forward, I'm sure many of them are regretting it in some ways, or even giving them the titles. But the Queen was so gracious and warm and loving to everyone who has married into the family. And I think Meghan just took that warmth and just twisted it, and was just so horrible in how she dealt with, like, the most incredible and amazing opportunity in the world. It wasn't good enough for Meghan if she couldn't be queen.
But first, you know how often I talk about the need for free speech to be protected online. And I've been increasingly thinking of the need for personal protection from snoopers, bad actors, and hackers. And I'm delighted to tell you I have now found the fail-safe solution. But what's more, this VPN, or virtual private network to use the full term, is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. Let me introduce you to Surfshark, an incredible and easy to use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activities stay safe so you can shop, stream, browse, and conduct your banking online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark go way beyond keeping you safe online. It allows you to access your favorite entertainment and news shows and channels from international streaming services like Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, and Peacock. Or if your favorite show is blocked on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney Plus, within seconds you can be watching as if you're in another country. If you're traveling for work or on holiday, you can also get all your favorite content from home, including sports. And this is an insurance policy against creeping censorship in many countries. For example, France, which has blocked Rumble for many months now. Watch anything, anytime, anywhere. It is true freedom, which I am here for. Oh, a VPN can save you money too, because you can get the best deals from websites that change their prices depending on where you're buying from. There are other benefits of Surfshark too. You can use Surfshark on unlimited devices. That means your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. And with over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, there is a world of choice at your fingertips with 24/7 customer service if this is your first time using a VPN. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken right now for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. What's more, Surfshark is so confident it's the best VPN in the world that you can give it a try for a full 30 days. And if you're not entirely satisfied, you will get your money back. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. But now, back to the show. Look, it is just worth repeating, by the way, that reporting from The Spectator, which was from 2023, they reported that the longest-serving monarch saw through Meghan Markle and made the uncharacteristic remarks at a reception in Balmoral in August, weeks before her death. A source told The Spectator, at the drinks before the dinner, a small group were talking to the monarch and she explained that Harry meeting Meghan had become a complete catastrophe and described her as evil. Everybody's eyebrows hit the ceiling. It was out of character for the Queen to use such a word as evil to describe Meghan, but she saw straight through her. It was a startling sentence to hear from the most forgiving woman on earth. And a source suggested that the outburst came because the Queen's health was in decline and she seemed regretful about how things had panned out. So there you go. Goodness me. Thomas Markle Jr., though, also went into some detail about how he believes, and remember, he knew Trevor Engelson, he knew Meghan's former relationship, so he sort of has an idea about how Meghan specifically has changed Harry.
Was watched all over the world. That, what is it, in 5-6 years, Meghan has changed Harry, and she hasn't changed him for the better. She's changed him for the worse. What do you think she's done to him, Tom?
Well, I think it's a combination of a few things. In my opinion, I think that Meghan is playing this whole entire, her life, scripted, produced, acted by her, all on her dime or whatever. She's playing this fantasy life out in her own mind, where it comes to where, let me get to this in 1 second, but it comes to where she wants to be Diana so bad. It's kind of freaky and kind of scary. And when Harry mentioned on that interview, right off the bat, some people in the royal family, and I'm not going to say who they are, they want us dead.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that right there, red flags everywhere.
I mean, there are red flags everywhere about that. I mean, a lot to pick up on there, Brittany, but I think it's really fascinating that Thomas Markle Jr. is saying she wants to be Princess Diana so bad. Because remember, Brittany, there's been a lot of consternation about these claims from Meghan that she didn't know the royal family at all, when in fact, apparently she had read Andrew Morton's book about Princess Diana. She was quite obsessed with Diana. And then Megyn Kelly recently revealed that she also had Prince Harry on this mood board, and it was sources close to Trevor Engelson who had told her that.
I mean, Thomas Markle's assessment that Meghan is sort of playing out a role, I think is actually pretty astute. I think she definitely is playing a role for Harry, and she wore allegedly his mother's perfume on their first date, and he has constantly talked about his belief that she is so much like his mother and everything, when I don't think they could be more unalike. And I think Diana and Meghan would have hated each other. I think Diana would have despised Meghan, and I don't think Meghan would have liked Diana outshining her. I don't think they would have gotten along well at all. But what I find incredibly disturbing about Harry is that it seems to be like, when you listen to the interview, and I've noticed this a couple of times, that he's almost sort of asking for something to happen to his family to justify his paranoia and delusions. And I just find that incredibly disturbing. Like you can almost feel it. He's just going, well, if they won't be safe. And he's just like hoping something happens to prove his point. And I just find that incredibly despicable. And he just wants it to be like he's almost trying to replay his mother's life when his mother's life ended very tragically, but not totally by the hands of the paparazzi, which Harry wants to blame. It was more that she was in the car with a drunk driver and not wearing a seatbelt. She may have survived if she was wearing a seatbelt. And Harry, though, in his delusions, he just can't accept that and sort of wants his wife to maybe play out a better version of his mother or something. It's very strange.
That's for sure. Thomas Markle Jr. also went there when it came to asking questions about the children. And what's interesting about this, although Samantha Markle has said very similar things here on Outspoken, but he says that Thomas Markle, his father, Meghan's father, the children's grandfather, also has questions about them.
You know, the controversy is just endless on this whole entire thing between the moon bump theory and the surrogacy and everything else like that. I don't know. My father doesn't know. I don't think anybody knows if those children are legitimate or surrogates or what. Nobody really knows.
No.
But for Meghan and Harry to use these kids as pawns, you know, totally just, you know, blindsiding their theories about child safety on social media. Now they're using the kids as pawns. They've been using the kids for pawns for years. My father has already given up. And it says, like, I'm never going to meet those kids. King Charles is never going to meet those children, ever. I don't know. And using the kids as pawns, as a bargaining chip, you know, what is wrong with people? I just don't get it. That's like, family is family. You know, everybody has a right to meet and be involved with their entire family, unless there's some serious screws loose or somebody has some serious something wrong upstairs, I suppose. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Pretty much, I think it's undeniable now that the children are definitely being used as pawns. But the fact that Thomas Markle is now apparently questioning, and by the way, Thomas Markle Jr. is with his father, Thomas Markle, in the Philippines. They're living there together. They are incredibly close. If Thomas Markle himself is now asking questions about the children's legitimacy, that's a big deal.
It all goes back to Harry and Meghan with this issue, because since the beginning, Harry and Meghan have been playing media games with the kids. Obviously, I've never been a firm supporter of the moon bump theory, but what I see though is Meghan, I think, always wanting to put on a performance. She wanted her bump to look a certain way. She wanted to hold it particular ways, and she drew so much attention to it that instead of it looking endearing and sweet, it tended to look a little bit weird and creepy. And it's like, are you drawing so much attention to your pregnancy to hide the fact that you're not pregnant? Those were the questions people were asking. And then they, lied about when she went into labor and gave birth and everything. And all those situations together combined to where people question so much about their kids and question everything. Every time a new picture comes out, people analyze every single angle. And you got to think, one of the things that has been a deep hurt for Harry is that people always thought for many years or questioned whether or not he was Charles's son. They said instead he was James Hewitt's son. And that obviously, I think, caused some hurt for Harry. But instead of alleviating hurt for his children, he's perpetuating it by allowing his wife to play these media games with their kids and showing them at different angles and then different hair colors and all these sorts of things. None of it is helpful. I mean, the children are there. I believe they're theirs. But regardless of how, let's say, they got here, Harry and Meghan continuing to play games with their children, emotionally blackmailing his father, Charles, and claiming doesn't want to keep them safe is just horrific to do to their kids, in my opinion.
Yeah, Thomas Markle Jr. also said, and I think this is a fair point, that Prince Harry should have listened to the Markle family all along.
And he's chipped in and ruined himself. Do you think?
I absolutely agree with you on all those points. I've watched Harry's downfall from the very, very beginning. When they first turned on me personally and my family, and I wrote him that letter still stands in concrete today. He should have listened, because everything since that point has gone downhill, and he's become less and less and less of a man continuously every month, every year. It's so obvious who's driving Harry and making him do these things. Listen, he wrote a book. He totally attacked the monarchy, totally attacked William and Catherine. Meghan is so jealous of Catherine. It's very, very scary. It's actually very creepy.
I think that last point is really fascinating, Brittany, because we do increasingly see the madness of Meghan's jealousy with Catherine. I mean, even if we just look over the weekend, she's got Harry to wear a hat that looks identical to the one that Catherine previously wore, and she's putting it on too. And then she's doing her roses video just within hours of the release of Catherine's rose. So it is quite creepy, isn't it?
She's very much aware of Catherine and William, and I think obsessed with this idea of trying to quote unquote beat them, if that makes sense, be better than them, have more attention than them, more accolades, more money, what have you. And so Meghan is sort of willing to do anything and go to any level. And despite her claim she doesn't look at the media, Meghan is constantly obsessed with the media. And going back to the point of Meghan sort of enacting a role instead of actually being herself. I mean, I think big part of the reason why Meghan didn't want Harry to meet any of the Markles is that they would not go along with her narrative that she had spun for Harry, that they would not go along with every sort of detail of her childhood that she shared with Harry that was either a half truth or not truth at all. So she wanted to just her mom. Her mom was perfectly willing to go along with the act, whereas the Markle side, maybe not so much. And there were ways you could say where Meghan could have maybe minimized some of what they would do, but instead she cared so little about them or what they would say that she didn't even seem to care. But Meghan definitely just has no respect for Harry at all as her husband, as a man, or anything. He is simply there as her prop and her handbag, as some people would say. He's her handbag, so as she walks around, she can give him things to hold or whatever, because she has always wanted to be the star. But the sort of ultimate irony for Meghan Markle is that he is the prince, she is not. So he will always be more important to people than she is. And I think in some ways she probably despises and is immensely jealous of him for that. And of course, immensely jealous of Catherine and William as well.
Brittany, I think probably the most consequential moment of this interview between Thomas Markle Jr. is the fact that he believes, I don't think it's completely far-fetched, Brittany, but he believes that if Charles or William take away Meghan and Harry's titles, at that point, Meghan will decide to cut Harry loose. Watch this.
Think she'll cut him out of her life?
My opinion on that, Kevin, is I think it's straightforward, and I think it's going to happen. I think what's going to happen, because the threat of William taking the titles away, and he rightfully so, he should. If somebody attacked my wife like that while she was ill, that's something you can never forgive. Somebody talks so much trash about you, burns every single bridge, and then begs for forgiveness because their popularity sucks and they're in the gutter. And then you try and go crawling back, and you want to go back and you make this big story up. It's such garbage. Yeah. But I think once the titles get stripped, I think Harry's done.
I mean, it's interesting, Brittany, because she's proving that she is obsessed with the titles. The fact that she continues to use the titles, and I think it's something that she wants to do more and more and more, does show that it's a big deal for her.
It's a huge deal for her. And this is that we have seen through Harriet and Meghan's various offerings to the world in terms of content is that they're not generally good at it. She's not a good podcaster. This is the reason why she's had 2 flops of a podcast in a row. I don't think she's a good producer. I don't even think necessarily she's great on camera in some ways. She's trying so hard that it always comes across as fake. And so those titles are critical for her because that is something she can lord over other people around Montecito and in Hollywood because it's the one thing they don't have that she does. It's why she gives her friend a basket that's not even handwritten. For somebody as obsessed with handwriting as Meghan is, to not handwrite a message to her friend, but instead to have it typed on there with the compliments of Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. I mean, that's your friend. Should it not be here you go? I think her first name was Jamie. Jamie, here you go, Jamie. Have a wonderful time with your friends. Love Meghan, or with love Meghan, whatever she wanted to sign. That would make more sense. But it's the crown over her initial. It's Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. It's this obsession that Meghan has because she's so lax in talent. It's the only thing that makes her relevant in the industry. Without that title, without the connection to the royal family, Meghan has nothing. And so as time goes on, and if that diminishes and she can't get any of her businesses truly off the ground, she will cling to it more. And if that's gone, she'll, I think, dump Harry the next day and go looking for a man who can give her more money or more influence or whatever, because Harry's influence is sort of dead at that point.
Oh, yeah. So true. So true. And that's why he should see the writing is on the wall and get out before she can do even more damage. Have to say, Meghan Markle never got the Markle sense of humor, did she? Did you see this behind Thomas Markle Junior, Brittany?
No.
See his little background? Harry and Meghan, the horse's head. You've got to laugh. You have to laugh. They do have a sense of humor with it, and I love that. I absolutely love that. Do make sure you subscribe to the Royal News Network on YouTube for much, much more from Brittany. And of course, if you want first access to the Royal Uncancelled After Show here on Outspoken every day, subscribe to my Substack, www.outspoken.live. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.